Back like we never left. We are now just a few days away from the NFL draft. The NHL playoffs are coming, and JT Daniels is a Mountaineer. Let's start the show, everybody. Woo!
Joe Talks Sports. Let's start the show.
Man, did I miss you guys? That's no joke, for real. It's been a long time. Like, I know I've been on here every now and then making a few videos. You know, if you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, we've talked a little bit, but it's been a long time since we sat down and done this, and it feels good. Anyways, welcome back to the show. If you've been here before, if you're new, welcome for the first time. Even if you've been here before, you may notice some things have changed. If you haven't watched the video on it on YouTube, dropped a video a while back talking about our channel updates, what's going on with the podcast, where we've been. So if you don't know, unfortunately, Harry is no longer with us. A moment of silence. He's not dead. He's just not here because, you know, it's tough to show up once a week and do a 45-minute podcast. It's really tough to find the time to do that. But anyways, we wish him the best. Maybe we'll get him back on the show every now and then to talk a little bit with us. We'll see if we can do that. But it is now Joe Talk Sports. So if you don't know, we're here. Joe's still here. Joe's still grinding, watching. We got a lot going on. So we're not going to waste a lot of time talking about the channel. I missed you guys. We're back with the podcast every Monday. If you're new, every Monday at noon, we'll have a new podcast, videos all week. Subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't. You can also listen to us on any of your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, whatever you want to listen on. Or watch us here because, you know, who doesn't love looking at me for 30, 45 minutes, whatever. But we're going to get right into it. We got a lot going on. We're a couple days away from the draft. The Penguins are closing in on the playoffs. West Virginia just got some news. So let's start with that because that's huge and it's probably the biggest news of the summer. JT Daniels is going to be a Mountaineer. If you haven't watched my video on it, released when he signed last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, go watch that. You get my initial thoughts. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it now. JT Daniels, man, former 5-star recruit. I think Rivals or something has him like 99 overall. Former Heisman candidate, predicted to be a top round draft pick in the NFL. He was at USC. He had some injury troubles. He got replaced. He went to Georgia, tore his ACL, I think, or something, got replaced, entered the transfer portal, and by the miracle above, somehow, he ended up in West Virginia. He committed. JT Daniels is going to be a Mountaineer. Now, this is huge news, guys. I mean, I think some people are excited, but I think this is bigger than anyone's going to think it is. And I find it really funny how when he entered the transfer portal, it was hyped up. Like college sports, everyone was hyping up JT Daniels in transfer portal. Where's he going? Where's he going? The second he goes to West Virginia, you don't hear anything about it anymore. Like the hype of instantly stopped when he committed to West Virginia. It's like the national media, they saw it, and all of a sudden they're like, well, he can't be, I mean, he's going to West Virginia. Maybe he's not what we thought, you know. They can't give West Virginia. I'm telling you, this kid is special, guys. If he's anything like he was before his injuries, West Virginia got a special one. I've seen a lot of West Virginia fans hype. Some fans comparing him to Skylar Howard and Will Grier. Guys, you got to set your sights a little higher, I think, on this one. I mean, this kid is special. Right now, he is 1-40 pick to win the Heisman Trophy. I think he's got a better odds than that. The big thing we see, and I see why teams were hesitant to go with him and why they've kind of tried to kill the hype a little bit other than being at West Virginia, is because he's had injury problems. But this is 2022, and ACLs aren't as big a deal as they used to be. So if he can come back and he can play like he is, and like he was rated to play, guys, this is huge for West Virginia. Like, this is a big deal. At worst, this took us from maybe like a, I don't know, 7-win, 8-win season, if we're lucky, to like a 10-win season. So, and you know, I've been a West Virginia fan for a long time, as you guys have. I don't want to, we've been through this before, right? Well, we jump on the hype train, we get excited, and then they let us down. So I don't want to get too early and too hype and say, oh my God, we're going to this, we're doing this. But hey, this changes things. It really does. It really does. Like, this kid is a baller. I mean, he's a Heisman candidate. He was projected to be a top NFL draft pick. I think I was looking at his Rivals or 24/7 score, and I think he was like nationally rated 10th or 12th overall for his class. In that class, Trevor Daniels, I think, was the first one. Justin Fields or someone was 2 or 3, and he was like 12th or 14th on that. This guy's a baller, man. He's really, really good. And if he lives up to his pre-injury potential, he could do some big things in West Virginia. And, I mentioned this briefly in the video. Go watch it on YouTube. If you haven't, there's another video. You can go watch it, like it, subscribe to the channel. Anyways, I mentioned it briefly in my first JT Daniels reaction video. This like starts a domino effect for WVU because other recruits and transfers in the portal see him and they want to play here now. Before, if you're a wide receiver, any player, especially an offensive player, but any player, and you're looking at WVU and you see, Will Crowder, Garrett Green, and Nico Markiel, who, hey, we're still very hype about, but he's young. He's a freshman. And we're going to talk about the quarterbacks in a second in the spring game. If you see those guys, you may, do I want to go to WVU or do I want someone that can pad my numbers? Now you see JT Daniels at quarterback and you see Graham Harrell as the offensive coordinator who's known for a heavy scoring offense. You're going to come to WVU. I mean, they can put your number. If you're a wide receiver, that's what you want. JT Daniels and Graham Harrell, come on. I mean, anybody in the team, WVU has just made themselves a contender, not only in the Big 12, but in the transfer portal and for future commitments. So this is huge. It's huge for West Virginia this season, especially, but this is going to have a domino effect for the next few years, guys, leading into the future. And, speaking of Nico, we're really hype about him, but I think this is best case scenario for Nico because what we've seen so far in the spring game, which we're about to talk about, in practice, he's got the potential, but he's still young and he's still playing like he's young. So I think this is best case scenario. You get to redshirt him, give him an extra year of eligibility. He gets to learn the system better. He gets more comfortable. He gets more size, more strength. He gets to watch a player like JT Daniels play quarterback and how he conducts himself. And then when Nico comes in 2 years, West Virginia is, a powerhouse at this point. So, this is all best case scenario. This is what I think, but it's West Virginia and we've been down this road before and we've been through heartbreaks. So we'll have to see how this goes, but hey, I'm excited right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about JT Daniels and everything going on in West Virginia over the past week. Let's talk about the spring game, spring practice. They wrapped up. From what I saw, the defense struggled a little bit. They had some picks, but they struggled a little bit. I'm worried about, I think I mentioned in the JT Daniels video too, I'm still a little worried about the secondary going into the season. We lost some guys. I'd like to see that improved before the season starts. Maybe we could get another transfer. I don't know who's out there right now, but I feel like the secondary needs some help. The quarterbacks, that's what we were all watching in the spring game. JT's not there yet. So our 3 guys that we've been waiting on, from what we saw, so leading up to this, all we've heard from camp and seen from camp from the coaches is how great Garrett Green was. Garrett Green has been by far the best in camp. Goose has been good. Nico's had moments, but he's also looked like, a high school senior in moments. But from this game, to me, and I think everyone else watching, I don't know about the coaching staff because Neil Brown has some different comments, but I think it was clear to everyone watching this game that Will Goose Crowder was a standout by far above the rest. He was slinging the ball. He had excellent reads. He had very good pocket presence, pocket awareness. I know in camp, but, game situations are very different than practice, right? Drills, you can scrimmage in practice. Even though this is a scrimmage, it's different. It's game situation. Under pressure, Garrett Green, he did look better in the second half. He came back. He had some big throws downfield, which is good. But to me, and I think a lot of what I've seen on Twitter, a lot of West Virginia fans, Goose won the show on this one, guys. He looked great. Nico had some really good moments. I think sometimes he deferred to his physical ability to run because maybe he was uncomfortable with the pass or reading the pocket. He got a little hurried. Nico's the guy. He's got the potential, but he's going to take some time. And I think, again, with JT Daniels coming in, best case scenario for Nico. So what are we going to see? Sometimes with Neil Brown, it's hard to read because we heard all last season how Jared Dagey was improved. Jared Dagey was the most improved player, different Jared Dagey. And then in the season started, we saw the same Jared Dagey. So is that what's happening with Garrett Green now, where Garrett Green's this, Garrett Green's this, Garrett Green's throwing the ball, Garrett Green, and then Garrett Green's going to be the number 2 guy, and then we're going to get the same Garrett Green? I don't know. Because from me and everyone I've talked to and everyone I still talking about it, Goose was clearly the guy in that spring game. So as of right now, I think Garrett Green's the odd man out because you got JT Daniels coming in. If Will Crowder, you're going to have him behind him, and then you're going to have Nico. I don't know if you have 4 quarterbacks on your roster. I don't know if Garrett Green will want to sit there, if he will want to try to go somewhere and play. I don't know. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, see how that shakes out. We got some time left before the fall, but let me know what you guys think. Did you watch the game? What did you guys think? Who stood out to you? Not just quarterbacks in any position. Is there anything you're worried about? Are you worried about the secondary like me? You worried about the line? Well, the line looked good, and I think they're going to improve. So we'll see how that goes. But let me know what you guys think about that. But I'm excited. Graham Harrell. We didn't talk about offensive coordinator Graham Harrell's offense. Man, I think we're getting some previews. This is going to be a high-powered offense, guys. It's going to be kind of like the Dana days, where it's over the top, air raid offense. Neil Brown, I still don't know what to think about him, but offensively, he definitely wasn't that guy. Gerard Parker, I think Neil Brown was calling most of the shots, though. He wasn't that guy. I mean, his offense was just kind of, I didn't like Dana because Dana was over the top and Dana was losing his shit every Saturday on the sidelines, which I thought is immature and a bad look. Like, I like a coach, I like him spicy, something like Bill Cowher back in the day. Sometimes he gets heated and yelled. That's good sometimes, but every game, Dana's like flipping his shit and it just looks stupid. So I kind of like that Neil Brown's kind of an even kill guy, but his offense was kind of even kill like his personality, and that doesn't work. So I'm really excited to see what Graham Harrell does this year. And the flashes we've seen so far have been very exciting. So we'll see how that shakes out, and especially when JT gets the reins. Whew, it might be exciting, guys. It might be exciting. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. How you feel about that? What you're excited for, West Virginia fans? Subscribe down below if you haven't already. I'm happy to see you guys again, by the way. Did I say that yet? Anyways, let's move on. Before we get into the draft and the Steelers, one thing we got to mention, I haven't talked about it yet because I didn't want to make a video. Felt clickbaity for views, just to get the views when it was new. Dwayne Haskins, guys, man, that's some sad stuff. I don't know. It's sad. I felt like he had everything going for him. I felt like he turned it around. He was happy in his position, even though he wasn't going to start probably. He just seemed like a great guy. He was only 24 years old. It was so sad. So I felt like we got to get that out of the way and mention it. R.I.P. Dwayne Haskins, man. This really sucks. I feel bad for his teammates that were down there with him too. They went down to Bond and to practice with Trubisky, called the receivers down. And then it all ends with that. That's just terrible. So I felt like we had to mention that. That really sucks. But let's move on. Let's talk about we got the draft in a few days. Now, last year, if you've been here for a while, we made draft predictions, and we were right. We were not one of the only people. Some people were saying that Najee would be a Steeler, but a lot of the professionals were saying, "Oh, there's no way you go running back first round. Steelers are doing this. They're gonna go off in town. They're gonna go this. No way you go. No way he falls. Steelers don't take it." We said it. We said it weeks and weeks before the draft. I said, I guarantee Najee Harris will be a Steeler. They were all over him, and we were right. So I could make predictions this year, but I'm not going to. And this year, I'm a little more unsure of what they were going to do, because I've been in the camp that I don't think. I know a lot of Pitt fans like Kenny Pickett, guys. I want to be a Steeler. I don't think he's that guy, and I know I'm going to get some hate for that. I don't think he's that guy. I think this QB class in general is pretty weak, and I think you've heard that from a lot of people. So I don't know. I originally was saying I know the Steelers. There's no way they're drafting QB in the first round. But now, if I'm honest, I'm not so sure because not only do you have the terrible Dwayne Haskins tragedy, which you hate to talk about football as it relates to that, but now we're down to two. You got two quarterbacks on the roster, so it opens the gate for another guy. But that aside, I've heard a few, the national media, sometimes they don't pay attention per team. And a lot of the Pittsburgh national media, if we're being honest, kind of don't know. They're rarely right. I'm not going to mention any names, but if you follow them, they're rarely right. But there are a few national media guys that I follow and I really respect their opinions, and they do know what they're talking about and are right a lot. And I've seen a couple of them say the Steelers really want Malik Willis. So that might be where they're going if he falls to 20. And he might. So is that what they're going to do? I'm not going to make a prediction like last year. I think they might do that now. If he falls to them, I think they really like him. You could see in the combine and when they went to visit him, Tomlin really seemed to like him. Colbert seemed to like him. That may be the way they go. I would think. I'm not going to comment on the first round. That might be the way they go, guys. I think the Steelers in this draft, though, are going to look for some wide receivers because unlike the quarterbacks, I've heard the wide receivers in this draft are really deep and really good. And to me, I think a lot of them around that 20 spot, you could start seeing some wide receivers go. So if the Steelers go that way, if Malik gets taken earlier, do they go wide receiver at 20? It seems, like you want to hold out to the second round. But from what I've been hearing and seeing from people, there are some really good wide receivers that could get taken late in the first. So around that 20 spot, do you take one? Maybe. I think they for sure take a wide receiver in the second round because if you look at their wide receivers right now, they got Chase Claypool, they got Deontay Johnson, but he's currently, having contract disputes or wants more money. He says he's going to show up to camp. We'll see what happens with that. But other than that, who you got on the roster right now? Steelers are not very deep at wide receiver. So if you want to give your new quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, or whoever it is, if you want to give them the best chance to succeed, you're going to need someone at wide receiver. And as of now, it doesn't look like they're going to look in the trades. I'm assuming they've been waiting for the draft to go get an electric young wide receiver. So that would help. If you go in with Chase, Deontay, and you have a really good, top end, high wide receiver pick, it's looking a little better. You got some veteran guys that are good. You got Deontay, who really improved last year and looks like he's a few steps away from being a superstar wide receiver in the league. Chase has been up and down, but I think maybe he takes things more seriously this year and steps up, and Juju's gone now. So maybe he feels more like takes that lead veteran role. And then you bring in a young wide receiver that's a, high second round, late first round pick, like a top guy. All of a sudden it's looking better. And then maybe somebody like Mitch Trubisky could come and sling the ball. So I think they filled in a lot of the gaps this offseason by bringing guys in. I like a lot of the moves they've made, but they're still very weak at wide receiver. So we'll see what they do in the draft. If they try to bring anyone in, I think they definitely draft wide receiver round 2 for sure. That late first round pick I'm looking at. I don't know. A lot of people think they like Malik there. If he gets taken, do they go wide receiver? Do they like anyone else, any other QB at that spot? I don't know. So we'll find out in a few days, though. I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who's Steelers going first round? Yeah, let me know who you think the first round pick is, and what do they do second round? They going wide receiver? We definitely got some spots to fill still. So we'll see. Let me know. Moving right along, guys. There are 2 games left in the regular season in the NHL. It is really hard to believe that there's only 2 games left in the regular season. This season flew by. The playoffs are on the horizon. And it looks like the Penguins are either going to have Carolina, New York, or Florida in the first round. So with that, Pick your poison. Like, who do you who do you want there? This could be another first round exit. And it's not, this team has been good, but they've been struggling lately. And you don't have Jari, I don't think. Mike Sullivan's playing it close to his chest. He said, "Oh, let's not talk about that. He's week to week. He could be back to play." I don't think you'll have him for the first round. Definitely not the first game, I don't think. But even with that aside, Jari was struggling this past few weeks. The power play's been struggling. They've been struggling defensively. They haven't looked as tight as they did earlier in the year. So even though they've had a really great season, they've had great goaltending for the most of it, they haven't been looking like a team that's going to go deep this past 2 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks to the month. So I don't know. Like, going into the playoffs, who do you want? You want Carolina in the first round? Florida? New York has been hot. New York has had our number. They've beaten the crap out of us the last few games. But honestly, in my opinion, I would say you want New York. Even though they've had our number and they've beaten the crap out of us, and we actually have better records, I think, against Carolina and Florida this year. I think with Carolina, we were like 1-1-1 and an even goal differential. Florida, I think we were even with them, or maybe had a loss and like a -2. New York, we were like 1-3 and like a -12 goal differential or something. So, or New York. So New York has had our number out of those 3 teams. But going into the first round of the playoffs, I think I'd take New York. And here's why. I still believe that experience is a factor when it comes in the playoffs. Now, I don't think it's as much as it used to be in the first round. I think the past few years, we've seen these young teams can really dominate in the first round of the playoffs. But I think the deeper you go, the more it matters. But I still think it matters a little bit. Not as much in the first round as it used to. We've seen a lot of young teams come into the first round and do very good the last few seasons. And then, in the second round, experience really comes in the playoffs. But if you're looking at these teams, Carolina has been good for a couple years now. They've been good, and they've been getting in the playoffs. Same thing with Florida. Florida has been a monster for the past few seasons. These are teams that have the experience finally to make a really deep playoff run. Like, they've been teetering the past few years. They've been great in the regular season. They come into the playoffs, they fall apart. But I feel like now they've got the pieces, they've got the experience. These teams could be dangerous. New York, they've been good. They've had our number this year, but this is still a pretty young and experienced team as of right now. They got some veterans on the roster, but overall, I feel like they're the least experienced. So if you're asking me who I want in the first round, I'm going New York. I'm not going Carolina, who's a team that's been wanting this cup and they've been a monster for the past few seasons, and they're finally ready. They're like, guys, this year we're going. Same way with Florida. Florida's been a monster. Do you think they want to get upset again? No, they want to go in the playoffs. I do not want one of those teams the first round. So if I got to pick, I'm taking New York. So let me know what you guys think about that, even though the Penguins have struggled against New York teams the past few first rounds of the playoffs. You think you want to avoid that at all costs. Maybe our guys want to go play in Florida. I don't know. But if you ask me, I'm taking New York first round. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Do you want New York, Carolina, Florida? And what do you think? Give me your predictions for the first round. What do the Penguins do? Is this the year they pull it off, or we got another first round upset? About a month ago, month and a half, I would have said second round easy this year. Now I'm not so sure. So I'll wait to make my predictions. We'll see who we get. But what I do want to do, I may do a live watch party of that first game on Instagram. So if you're not following on Instagram, JTalk Sports, go do that. Go follow me on Instagram. And that first game, we'll watch it together maybe. I'll go live stream on Instagram and watch that first game. So we'll see what happens. Let me know. One thing Penguins-wise, I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. But, we had the break with the channel. We haven't been around, so I didn't get to talk about it. We've got 2 games left in the season. And you have Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang, who are going to be free agents. And Brian Rust. So those are some big names sitting out there. Can the Penguins sign all 3? Can they sign 2? Or are we going to lose I don't think we lose all three, but God, if we lose 2 out of 3, that might not be unrealistic. So my question is, as a Penguins fans, I'm going to exclude Russ from this for a second. Okay. Because I know everyone loves Rusty. I love Rusty. I want him back. But Malkin and Letang are like cornerstones of the Penguin franchise, and one of them could be gone next year. So I want to ask you guys your opinion. If you had to choose and you could only keep one, are you taking Gino or are you taking Letang? Think about that for a second. Who would you take? Now, they're both very polarizing, and here's why. Both of them are dominant. Letang might be one of the best skaters in the league. He eats up minutes like crazy. He's an offensive dynamo. This year, he probably going to pass his point total ever this season, which is crazy. But he's also a turnover machine. He makes a lot of dumb defensive mistakes. He costs this team a lot. I feel like he's been better the past month. Early in the season, he was really struggling in the defensive zone. Last season, I thought he was fantastic. I thought last season was one of his best seasons, actually. This year, he struggled a lot early. He's been better lately, but he's always been like that. He's polarizing. So you got to take the high skating, high energy Letang with the turnover machine, bad defensive decision. Gino kind of the same way. Gino's a guy, he's been one of the most dominant players in the NHL for the past decade. But God, how many 2-on-1 breakaways have we had because of Gino turning the puck over at the blue line on the power play, or just in general, or making dumb mistakes, or getting goaded into taking a bad penalty at a bad time? So they're kind of polarizing figures. And I know a lot of people, especially some radio hosts, we're not going to talk trade Gino. What do you guys think, though? Like, if it was up to me, I have 2 ways I'm going to go on this. Hockey-wise, I think you would have to keep Letang if you had to choose. And here's why. It is much harder to fill or replace what Letang does on defense than what Malkin does on offense, even though Malkin is amazing. Because Letang eats up minutes. Like most years, he's 3rd or 4th most minutes in the entire league per game. He's maybe one of the best in the league at moving the puck out of the defensive zone, which is hard to find. And you notice when Letang's out of the lineup, the Pens do considerably worse, and they have a lot of trouble moving the puck out of the zone. And it is much harder to find a top pair, best overall, number 1 overall defenseman for your roster than a second line center. Now, you might not get a second line center who's as dominant as Evgeny Malkin, but that's an easier role to fill than name, off the top of your head, defenseman in the league like Letang that would be available. Who are you going to bring in? Are you going to draft someone and hope that they turn out like Chris Letang or at that level? A few years back, we thought John Marino was going to fill that role, and then he's kind of cooled off a little bit. So that's a really tough position to fill on your roster. And you notice when Letang's out, this team struggles defensively and played just moving the puck out of their zone. So from a hockey standpoint, I think it would be smarter to go with Letang. Now, the emotional part of me and the Penguins fan of me would pick Gino. Now, I like them both. They've both been cornerstones of this franchise. But, man, I can never forget the story of Malkin smuggling himself out of Russia, the Russian mafia, to get, or the Kremlin, whatever it was. He smuggled himself out of Russia to play for the Penguins. And that man loves Pittsburgh. He loves it. He said before he doesn't want to play anywhere else. He doesn't mind being number 2 behind Crosby. That fits for him, less pressure. If you've ever seen pictures he's taken in his house, he's got Pittsburgh, everything. He loves Pittsburgh. So, Malkin's one of my favorite players of all time. He reminds me a lot of Yager. Like Crosby's kind of the Mario role because overall he's definitely the better player, but he's kind of plays, a little more subtly. He does everything well. Malkin's kind of like Yager, where he's just the more physically, offensively dominant player. Like he just on the ice when he's on, no one can touch him. And he's lost that a little bit. He's not quite like as good anymore. But let's not pretend like this dude didn't just put up about 20 goals in almost half a season. Like, let's not pretend he missed almost half the season, and his numbers are still ridiculous. Like, he put him up in a full season. He's scoring at almost 40, more than a 40 goal pace. We'll see what he does in the last 2 games, but the numbers are still there for him. So don't let some other radio hosts or people trick you and pretend like Malkin fall off. Now, he's not what he used to be, and his ability to dominate the puck, like a couple years back when he used to skate circles around the offensive zone and no one could touch him and no one could knock the puck off of him. He's not that Gino anymore, but he's still got that laser beam slap shot. He's still got the offensive skill, and that the numbers are still there. They're still there. If he can put a full season together, there's no doubt in my mind he can push close to the 100 point, 90 point mark, 40 goals a season. He can still do it. So my gut, my heart, my Penguins fan in me, I would choose Malkin. But my brain, from a hockey standpoint, I think you would have to sign Letang. Now, we haven't even talked about Rust and all that. How do you fit Rust in? I think Rust is due for a big payday. So I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Who would you choose? Would you choose Malkin or Letang? Or maybe you say about it both and you choose Brian Rust. I don't know. But if you had to choose Malkin or Letang, who would you pick? And do you think the Penguins can keep both or everybody? Would you rather keep Malkin and Letang and let Rust go? Or would you rather take one of those franchise guys, keep Rust, and let the other go? That's a good question, too. I think I would keep Malkin and Letang just because I'm sentimental. And, as good as Rust is, we've had a lot of Brian Rusts come to the door in Pittsburgh. And even though he's a great player, he does everything well. And I'm not underselling Brian Rust. He puts up the numbers like crazy. He plays defensively. He plays every zone. He's a hard-nosed player. He's great in the playoffs. He's a playoff gamer. But I think, you could find a Brian Rust much easier than you can find an Evgeny Malkin or Chris Letang, even at the end of their career. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. And I think that's our show, guys. We've talked about everything today. We talked to JT Daniels, West Virginia spring game. The draft is coming up. We got more about that next week. Hey, if you're new here, subscribe. If you're not, comment down below. Let me know you've been around for a while. You sticking it out. And this is your favorite podcast for all things West Virginia, Steelers, and Penguins, and whatever else I want to talk about at the time. Drop a comment down below for Harry. Say, see you, Harry. We'll miss you. But this is Joe Talk Sports now. No, I'm being a jerk. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Subscribe if you haven't. Go follow us, J Talk Sports, on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We do viewer questions over there. So if you got a question you want me to answer on the show, you can go over there, drop it to us. Follow us on Twitter because we talk during games, Penguin games coming up, playoffs. We'll be talking the whole game. So if you want to chit chat, Instagram, if we go live, the first Penguin game, we'll be talking over there. So go follow. We'll see you guys next Monday on it. I almost said HJ Talk Sports on Joe Talk Sports. Let's go. See you guys next time.